Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to be setting up a Wireguard VPN connection from an Opensense router. The last video that we did was with a pfSense router. It's not a big difference, but there was enough of interest and enough in the comments that led me to believe that there would be benefit to the community if I created one with an Opensense router. I do appreciate the feedback everyone's providing on the videos. It is allowing me to further the content that I'm creating, so I definitely appreciate that, and I do make sure that I look at all those videos, or sorry, all those comments underneath those videos. With that being said, let me go ahead and dive into this. I am going to preface this with a few things. Number one, this is with a vanilla Opensense setup. Obviously, if you have an Opensense router already, I'm assuming you've already configured it for whatever it is that you're doing. So on this end, I'm configuring Opensense, but on the other end, I am going to continue using my Ubuntu 2204 Wireguard server. Although what I'm going to show you on the Opensense side would be what you would essentially do on both sides of the configuration. If there's enough interest and you guys are still having a hard time with setting a peer-to-peer from between two different Opensense routers, I have no problem creating another follow-up video to that. So yeah, without further ado, this instruction video is going to be a little different than the others. In this case, I'm showing you the entire screen versus in other instances I show you guys just the windows. And the reason I'm doing it this way is so that you guys can see everything that I'm doing. I will eventually bring in here a command line for my local machine to show you guys whether or not I'm able to connect and what that looks like. Okay. So let me go ahead and bring up the screen here. Let me just bring it over here, guys. So this is the Opensense router. It is a vanilla Opensense router. The only changes I've made up until now is I added a PPPoE connection for the internet, and I've also added to the firewall some rules allowing me to connect to it from my internal LAN, which is what this subnet up here is. That aside from that, this is a bare metal. I just reset it before I started this video, and I did my dry run. So this is what it would look like more or less once you install it. Okay. Opensense, as of this release here, 24.1. If you go to VPN here, you'll see Wireguard comes pre-deployed. So you don't have to worry about adding that package. If you don't have that, then you just have to make sure you add it. And then you come down to the VPN portion of this. Okay. If you look at the interfaces, there's three. Again, this is the one that I'm using to connect into here, but this is the LAN. Again, with best practices, I do make sure that I remind everyone that if you're going to set up your own router, make sure you use another subnet than what's default. So 192.168.1 or .2 or whatever your ISP provides. Those are usually the big ones. I would avoid strongly against that. All right, so the subnet I'm using here is 192.168.120. Okay, but again, you can choose that. And if you look at the other videos that I've showed with the CGNet and all that, it goes over that as well as to how you want to select a subnet so that it's easy for you to scale as you make your VPN more complex or as you connect to different satellite destinations. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so the first thing I always suggest with an Opensense, just make sure you update to the latest version when you get there. This might have a few things because this is just from an ISO that I installed, but that's not the point of it. Okay, let's go ahead and move into the actual configuration. So if we go down to VPN, oh, and one more thing actually before I move into this. The preface I want to give on this video is I'm not showing you how to do your own routing or firewalling between those networks, that would be a video all onto itself if we decide to do that. This is going to be a bare setup where you're assuming that you will be allowing access back and forth. If you need to start firewalling, that's a different issue altogether. Right now we're just trying to prove that you can have connectivity and that you can essentially work with it out of the gate. Anyways, let's go ahead and continue. So we're going to go ahead and go to VPN, and we're going to go to Wireguard, and then we're going to click on settings here. We are not going to enable it just yet. The first thing I want to do, and it's up to you what order you want to do this, there really isn't a huge difference. I want to go ahead and do the peers. I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus sign here, and we're going to go ahead and give this a name. Okay, so I'm going to call this Wireguard server. You can call this whatever you want. The public key is the key that Wireguard server has. Okay, I already have that written down, and if you look at my other videos, it shows you how to do this. And again, I'll post the same document that I've posted in other videos as to how to create a Wireguard server. It essentially shows you how to do this, but you can also look it up online, or you can just click on this, generate a new key pair. I don't recommend that when you're doing a peer because you need to update that on the server. But anyways, my peer, for the sake of this video, is this key. Now the pre-shared key, that's optional. You can definitely go ahead and do that. For the purposes of this video, I'm not doing that. Okay, and then the allowed IP. So on that subnet, the VPN itself is, in my case, 10.10.120.0, and I'm going to do the whole subnet. All right. This would also be the location where you would put any other VPNs that are behind the other Wireguard server you're connecting to. So let's say that you had another office that's located at another location, and its subnet is 192.168.121.0/24. That's where you would put this here under allowed IPs. Okay, we're not going to go ahead and do that here. We're just going to leave this as the one network, and we're going to put the endpoint address. That's the destination that we're going to connect to from this. We're connecting from here to this Wireguard server. Okay, and the port that we have to connect to, 51826, is what I'm using in this case, but it really doesn't matter. Instance, there's nothing right now. I'm going to be adding it from the instance side, but if you had started creating it from the instance side, and you'll see that portion in a moment, you would see a drop down here for a Wireguard server. Keep alive interval. I strongly recommend this when you're doing it on CGNAT. If you're not using a CGNAT, you can get away with leaving it at 0, just because you would use this port for it to initiate a connection on either side. I always recommend you putting it in there. I do 25, but you can change it to whatever you want. So I'm going to go ahead and click on save, and we're going to go ahead and click on apply. Okay, so now our Opensense router knows that it has to connect to this IP address on this port and allow this traffic, okay, from that subnet. Now we're going to create the instance on our end so that if, say, for example, you wanted to allow connections inbound, this is where that would happen. And this is also the instance that you could create firewall rules for. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on add here, and we're going to call it something. So in my case, I'm going to call it local Wireguard. Now the public key pair, again, if you look at the videos that I've created before, and if you look at the PDF document I created before, it shows you how you can do this. It's through command line that you will do this, or in Opensense you can just click on generate a new key pair. Again, just make sure that if you do that, you have to update that on the other Wireguard server with the public key. Okay. In my case, I already created these, so I'm going to go ahead and copy them from my notes. So private key is that, And my public key is this. Now the listen port is what it's going to use to listen for connections inbound. I'm not going to show how to create the firewall rules to allow inbound connections in this case, but it's just like adding any other firewall rule on the WAN side. It would be UDP, but for the purposes of this video, not really needed. Tunnel address. So this is the address on that network. Okay, so if you guys remember, we did a 10.10.120. So I gave this one an IP of 2, and it's going to be /32. Okay, and if we go to the peers, there's our Wireguard server. All right. The last thing for you guys to know, so this is if you have a more advanced setup, you click on disable routes, and what this means is Wireguard will not automatically update the routes on Opensense. You will do that manually. And you do that when you have a more complex setup you need to do. 9 times out of 10, most of you do not need to do this. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and click on save here. All right. And we're going to apply here. Theoretically, we are all set at this point. All right. And then, so we're going to go back here to general, and we're going to enable Wireguard. We're going to click on apply. All right, so theoretically, this connection is now live. If we click on diagnostics here, if you see sending and transmitting anything more than 0, that means that it's working. Okay. And with that in mind, I'm going to come to this virtual machine. This machine is on this router's network. Okay, and I can show you that here. If we look at details, 192.168.120.1. That is this router's address. And you can see that here in interfaces, LAN, right there. 192.168.120.1. It's the DHCP server. Okay. So, that being said, now, if I go to this guy and I do a ping to 10.10.120.1, we are now getting traffic to the other Wireguard server on the other end. And I can prove that by turning it off. So if I go to VPN here and I go to Wireguard settings, and let's turn it off. And you're going to see this traffic is stopped. All right, so that's how you can tell that that's the case. Now this machine has an address of 120.101. Let me go ahead and turn this back on for a moment. And this traffic, I might have to restart the interface just because I want the route to kick in quickly. Because it itself is not doing the traffic anymore. It's through this router. This router is doing all that work. Oh, there we go. So it was able to update. So it's able to start pinging again. Now, if I bring this here, this is the command prompt from my local machine. Okay. So if I do a ping to 10.10.120.1, which is the router, the Wireguard router IP, doesn't work. Why? Because I haven't turned on my connection to it. All right. And if I did a ping to this address, 192.168.120.101, same thing. 192. It would help if my numlock worked. 192.168.120.101 doesn't work. Okay, that's expected. Now, if I go ahead and turn on my local machine the connection to the Wireguard, okay, now that it's on, and you can see that here. Okay, let me just move this over here. If you see here now, it's connecting to that. It's got an address of 10.10.120.4. If I go from here, 10.10.120.1, we're now able to ping that machine. Now, I don't know if we'll be able to ping this guy just because I don't remember if the firewall is up. but let me try. What we should be able to do is RDPN, and that's what I wanted to use as my final test for you guys. 192.168.120.101. Yeah, it's not going through. Let me turn off the firewall on here. I don't know if it'll allow ICMP traffic through. Anyways, let me show you guys through remote desktop, because that I believe I left on. So if I do 10.1, 10.10.120, oh sorry, 192.168.120.101. Actually, guys, I think I forgot to mention that we also need to add the firewall rules from the Wireguard group itself, so you can have the connections going in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So it's, again, that's under Firewall, Wireguard group. Again, if you're doing individual instances, so let's say you have multiple Wireguard instances and you want to have various firewall rules, you would have to create and assign an interface to each one of those. For the purpose of this video, that's not what I'm doing. All right, so again, I'm going to do direction in. I'm going to allow all traffic, okay, and I can label it allow Wireguard traffic in. And I'm going to allow traffic out as well. So I'm going to clone this, and I'm going to change this direction to out. Allow traffic out. And I'm going to go ahead and apply this. Now, I believe, go back here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so we are able to ping now because the firewall's off. So the other test that I wanted to do was the remote desktop. So let me go ahead and do that. And there it is. So I don't remember what user I had. I think, I don't know. Let me find out where, let me see what user it was. Test user. Okay. Test dash user. And there it is. I'm able to connect. These are two separate networks that I'm connecting through. Here it is now. It's, again, you'll have to forgive me, guys. It's a little slow. It's just an old machine that I'm using to do these connection tests. Essentially, though, that is how you would create a WireGuard connection from an Opensense machine, specifically if you're on CGNAT. So that's why you didn't see me focus on allowing port connections inbound. If you wanted to do that, again, I'm just going to show this at a very high level. All right, very high level. Let me just go back to that here. At a very high level, what you would essentially be doing on both Opensense servers is you would go to your WAN connection, you would create a rule. It'd be on the WAN connection in protocol, it'd be UDP, and then whatever your destination port would be whatever it is that you set for it. So if it was 518.26, let's say that's what it was. All right, that's what you would do. So, sorry, it'd be other 518.26. And we would then select save, and that would be it. That would allow that traffic inbound. But that's essentially all you need to do. This video, like I said, was at a very high level. If you have any questions as to how to do anything more specifically, please please don't hesitate to add it in the comments. I will try to get to all your video questions. Again, if you have any questions and you want us to assist you with this, you're more than welcome to reach out, and we can definitely look to assist if possible. All right, you guys have yourselves a good day, and thank you very much for watching this video.